technology is here to stay. Perhaps its safe and productive use is one of our greatest challenges. What do you reckon?
I think, it's very important that we don't technology bash. It is here to stay. And it's very easy to sensationalize the impact technology is having on teenagers' lives. But the fact is, Teresa, technology is allowing us to live longer. It's helping us to go into the universe and get more ideas about who we are and where we came from. Over the course of this last 14 difficult months, it connected us. It's the reason we have a vaccine. It's the reason we're going to defeat the virus. So technology is a very important part of where we are now, but also where we're going as a species. So it's not about bashing it, but it's exactly what you said there. I suppose the conundrum or the rub of it, as Hamlet would say, is what is it that how are we going to parent this? How are we going to allow our children to live with it and live without it at the same time? And that is the important question, I think. And in the book, in the book, I'm very clear about not technology bashing, because I do think it's out there at the moment. It's in the ether. Teenagers are so, consumed with technology. Teenagers, they have no friends. They spend their time upstairs avoiding vitamin D, and there's so much stuff out there in the media. And I suppose it's important to understand that there's a kind of a paradox with technology. Yes, they might be up in their games, but they're also connecting to their friends. So it's again, when I was a kid in the 80s, I remember watching these ads and not really understanding them, and it was saying about you can't outsource your parenting to like TV, and you can't now outsource your parenting to technology, which is happening, I think, with parents. So it's about having a real sensible balance and a sensible policy that allows your child to access technology, but also allows them to be a part of the family. Because honestly, if you're going to take technology from your children, you're denying them, a really important part of their social and developmental stage at this point in this world that they live in.
I suppose the reason people have become more alert now is how we have been catapulted into the world of technology, whether we liked it or not, due to the COVID-19
for sure
experience. And the pivot that educators themselves had to make on the hoof just to keep things going was amazing.
It was incredible. But out of all discomfort, Teresa, comes opportunity, and out of disruption comes change. And we're not good at doing change, but disruption forces you to change. And we've been forced to change. And I think that's probably the silver lining out of this thing, is that it's catapulted us about 100 years into the future, where now we're thinking about the way we do the work and how we do the work that we do, where we're thinking maybe a blended approach, which wouldn't have, this 15 months ago, we would never have thought about, being online and being able to go into the office. And so, it has really changed how we access education, how we think about the classes that we teach, how we think about the work that we do.
So what impact has it on the development then of communication and real solid communication?
Yeah, well, I think nothing has disrupted and impacted communication quite like technology. I think we welcomed the iPhone, whatever it was when it came out in 2007, iPhone 3, I think it was called, like a Trojan horse into our lives. And, you don't have to be an expert in this stuff to see the disruption that's come into communication. You just have to sit in a restaurant, you have to sit in a train, you have to, just walk around. Everybody is tuned out of life and plugged into their device. And it is massively interrupted communication with teenagers, I think, because everything is instantaneous now. Everything is abbreviated. Everything is functional. So true communication, because we're mammals, Teresa, we love to be connected. And this is where I'd see the disruption. So our brain fires when we're talking to a friend and we're meeting someone that we get on with and we're like-minded and we're like kindred spirits. Our brain is hardwired for that stuff to fire. And those pathways open up and we feel really connected and we feel heard and we feel like we're communicating. That's a really healthy part of our well-being and sense of self. All of that has been impacted by technology, because all you have to do is sit in a train. You'd see 3, 4, I do it every day, and I see schoolgirls sitting down chatting to each other through the device, and they're showing each other images from, say, Snapchat, and they're talking, they're laughing, but they're not talking to each other, they're talking through the device. So it has massively impacted but their communication. But also, you sit in a restaurant, you'll see couples sitting down and they're on their devices. You sit at home and you'll see couples coming in to me telling me that they sit at home but they're not together. They're there physically but they're divided by their device. And so we have to, they're very powerful things. They're very hard to manage. I know myself, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I find it hard myself. When I come home, my wife would say to me, like, it's 8 o'clock, that's it. Now I run a clinic, so I have to be on my device and emails coming in. But by 8 o'clock, I'd say to myself, that's it. And I turn it off and I put it away. And I have to put it away. And it's not the first thing I check in the morning. And my impulse is to check it in the morning. And I make sure that it's not in my room so I can't check it.
are we, in a sense, at the early stage when the wiring of the brain is going on, and when that real spontaneity and creativity in the child, if the child is allowed free access to technology during that time, is there somewhat of a robbery of that organic creativity going on? What would
Well,
you think?
there's the research is out on that, right? I've read a lot about that. The research is out about whether that actually, disconnects neurons from connecting and all the rest of it, and that does that stop them from firing and wiring together. The research is kind of out in that one, and there's some research would say that it increases memory and it develops the ability to connect. And so the research is out there, but I don't think a child should ever have unlimited access to technology, because once they take this into their hand, right? Once they have that in their hand, they have the whole world at their fingertips. And from my perspective, what I've seen in recent times is, an accessing of extreme hardcore pornographic material, which is a very dangerous situation to get our children into,
Yeah, and
at such a young age.
once that is destroyed in the child, I would think that it's next to impossible to roll back.
Well, it's very difficult once intimacy becomes disturbed with a kind of a pathological view of it, or a kind of a fantasy view of it. It's very hard to get true intimacy back again. And I see it with 8, 9, 10-year-olds coming into my clinic who have been caught in school with on their lunch break with accessing really awful stuff on their phones. But also I see it couple therapy, where couples come in and they're just newly married, and there's huge problems in the marriage because one partner, generally the husband, finds it really difficult to be intimate, and out of the conversations comes his addiction, let's say, to pornography. And so we have to protect our children, and I just think it's incredible. And I spoke to the Taoiseach here in Ireland, the Prime Minister, about this before Christmas, saying that I spoke to him and I said, how can we let our children just roam this stuff freely? Surely there has to be an onus put back on these these service providers who, if it's something as simple as putting your email in for a kid, they wouldn't do it because they think they're being tracked. So they would know something very simple that would make them feel like they're being watched in their activity would perhaps stop them from accessing, extreme material. And we've got so many cases here. The Anna Kriegel case, where she was murdered by, classmates, and they found in boy A's phone, extreme material and bestiality and all this stuff that you would, like when I was a kid, you wouldn't even have heard of.
So the children have become desensitized in ways.
I think, well, it's so the accessibility is just, it's like having alcohol everywhere. You can just go drink it. Of course, kids are going to go drink it. So you have to put a law in place. You have to have a policy in place as a country to say, well, you can't access this.